And welcome back to Love Your Food. This week we are doing a classic wedge salad with a blue cheese dressing, and we're going to do a little bit of a fancy sort of restaurant-styled presentation for this, but you can do it simply as well. I'd like to remind everyone that we have an affiliate link with Chef's Temp as well as a Patreon, with details in the description below. If you need a kitchen thermometer or meat probe, you can get that for 15% off if you use code LOVEYOURFOOD at checkout. But first, here's our ingredients. So we've got a head of iceberg lettuce, some bacon lardon, some blue cheese, a red onion, some cherry tomatoes or grape tomatoes, some mayonnaise, some yogurt or sour cream, a little bit of buttermilk, a lemon, we're just going to use the juice of a lemon, some white vinegar, some bread, and a little bit of Tabasco sauce, and some Worcestershire sauce as well. So we're going to start off with our bacon. We want to get our bacon crispy. Now, you can do this however you like. You can cut this into lardon. You can get just regular bacon and cut it into lardon. We got some bacon that it's basically a sort of end cut, so it's slightly off shape. But we wanted it to remain a little bit meaty once it was cooked. So they're pretty big pieces. You can get smaller pieces and it will work just fine. You can just cut lardon out of sliced bacon from the grocery store. Now we're going to dice our red onion pretty finely. We don't want it very big. We want it pretty small. And we are going to do a quick pickle with this red onion. So we're just going to dump basically what came out to about a quarter cup of red onion into that quarter cup of white vinegar. Now ours is actually pickling vinegar, which is a slightly higher percentage of acetic acid. So it's quite tart. And we're just going to let this sit while the bacon cooks and while everything else is coming together. You want to start with this part and let everything else come together sort of a little bit later. A lot of mise en place for this one, and then when it's time to actually put it together, it comes together really, really fast. We're going to do a little preparation on our cherry tomatoes as well. So we've got cherry tomatoes or grape tomatoes, like I said. So we're just going to cut these into quarters. And then what we're going to do is we're going to salt them really, really well. So give them a good coating. We're using kosher salt here. And give them a little stir. Make sure they're all well coated with the salt. And then we're going to toss these into a strainer and put that strainer back over the bowl. And let them drain a little bit. We're just going to let some of the liquid come out of these. And just dehydrate them slightly. Almost like a quick cure again. Like the onions, like a quick pickle. So now we've got our blue cheese, and we have this is a very blue cheese. It was really delicious, but if you prefer a milder blue cheese, you can use that as well. A gorgonzola from the grocery store will work just fine for this. We're going to add in our mayo once we've got the blue cheese sort of crumbled a little bit. And now we're using yogurt, but you can use sour cream for this portion, or even creme fraiche if you have it. We have a recipe on our channel for making your own creme fraiche, and it's delicious, and will work very, very well in this recipe. And then we're just going to mix that together. Now remember, this is a salad dressing, so it does need to flow a little bit. If you find that it's too thick, what we're going to do is thin it out a little bit with some buttermilk. If you find that it's not too thick, if it's the right consistency for you, then that's fine. You don't have to add the buttermilk if you don't have it on hand, or you can use a little bit more sour cream to sort of loosen it a little bit. And then we're going to take the juice from half a lemon. Now our lemon just kind of popped right open there. We're just going to juice half a lemon here. And we're going to add the juice into our dressing as well, just for a little bit of acidity and some brightness in there. All those other flavors are very creamy and round, even if the yogurt is a little bit tart. We do want some of that bright acidity in there. Worcestershire sauce and a little bit of Tabasco, again, for a little bit of zing, a little bit of depth of flavor in there. And we're just going to combine that and make sure it is all well combined and well blended. A little bit of fresh cracked black pepper as well. And this dressing does have some similarities to like a ranch dressing as well. It's got that blue cheese zing to it, and we're just going to let that sit now, and all those flavors will come together. For the bread, we're going to cut our bread into pretty small little pieces. We're not making crouton out of this. This is more of a sort of a crispy garnish. And what we're going to do is, now that our bacon is done, so it took quite some time to get it down to here, we did render out, as you can see, quite a lot of fat. So we're going to take the bacon out of the pan and let that sit for a little while. And then in a larger pan, because we've actually got a lot of bread here, we're going to put in our breadcrumbs and our small sliced bread. And we're also going to toss in the bacon grease from that rendered bacon. So just add that bacon grease in there, and that will add a little bit of flavor. It adds some oil to the pan to help everything get a little bit toasty. And, you get that beautiful bacony aroma from everything in there, and will help it get a little bit of color. So once they are a little bit toasty and crispy on the outside, these are ready to go, so we can take those out of the pan as well and set them aside. Now, if they're not super, super crispy coming out of the pan, once they've sat down for a little while, once you've set them aside and they've cooled off a little bit, they will be pretty nice and crispy. We actually find that some of these are actually better the next day. So now the wedge portion. So we're going to cut our head of iceberg lettuce here into 4. Now ours is a little bit misshapen. You can see the stem goes off at kind of a weird angle. So some of them will not have the stem, which is ideal because you do want everything to sort of be held together by the stem, but not the end of the world if it doesn't. And then the last thing to do to get everything ready is to chop up the herbs, and you don't need to chop them super finely. We're going to chop ours pretty roughly, actually. So each bowl is going to get a quarter of a wedge, a quarter of a head of iceberg lettuce. Now, if your head of lettuce is huge, you may wish to make smaller pieces and cut it into 6ths or something like that. And then we're going to spoon that dressing on and a little bit of those herbs. And then comes everything else that we've made. So a little bit of that bright, sour, and tangy, quick pickled red onion. So you get the sharpness of the red onion, that tanginess of the acetic acid, the vinegar. We're going to add a little bit of those slightly dehydrated tomatoes. You can see here quite a lot of liquid has come off of those, and you can use that liquid for other things as well because it's really nicely tomato flavored. And then a little bit of bacon. Now, we didn't do a whole lot of bacon. We didn't really want it to be the star of the show. We wanted the dressing to be the star of the show. So a little bit of bacon in there just for some interest. And now our nice crispy little pieces of bread in there, our toasty pieces of bread. And that's it. That's really the whole thing. It's quite simple once you've got all that mise en place done. So once you've done all of the little preparations to lead up to this, it comes together pretty much instantly. It's just a matter of putting it all together on a plate. And really, really delicious. Like I said, this is sort of a classic fancy restaurant presentation, but you can cut it off the stem and just provide it like a salad and mix it all together. It just works just as fine. If you like this recipe, please do like and subscribe. And if you have any recipes you'd like to see Chef Caleb try on the channel, please let us know in the comments below. We'd like to thank our patrons over on Patreon. If you'd like to support us there, I'll put a link in the description below. And remember to love your food.